First of all, I would like to ask the panelists what do they think about when they hear the word touring. What do they because even we know that in English it's like touring is like a really simple, but in Spanish tour is viaje, no, and it's like kind of different. That's why I would like to ask them what's their point of view about this word, and let's start.
We have to manage to do a tour on weekends or like Friday, Thursdays. It's not we cannot go and like rent a car and have 30 dates on the road like you can do in the States. It's a bit more complicated because the cities and the music scene is not as developed in the whole country as it is in the main cities like Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. That's where I think normally we do when we bring bands from the United States or Europe, Australia. We normally do them on those days. So it's a completely different approach to how to arrange a tour and how to promote a show in Mexico.
The biggest thing about touring in the US is that you can do many more cities. I've done a couple of tours here in the US, and I've done around 20 to 30 cities in a month. And that is something that in Mexico, you have to, like you said, you have to wait weekends to do it. So it's not as affordable for an international act to go to Mexico and try to pull off a tour as long as a 30-day tour, 30-city tour. It's the U.S. I think really the biggest difference is that that centralization that I'm talking about. That in Mexico, still the difference between Mexico City and its social media, its magazines, its alternative press is just insanely developed in comparison to, say, Chihuahua or say, Oaxaca. It's too big of a difference. And here in the U.S., you have a number of cities that have this. You have Austin. You have, I've done a whole tour only in California, only in Texas, and that is something that in Mexico you just would not be able to do. It just would not be affordable, and I think that's the biggest difference.
Jimena, do you think this has to something to do with the income of the people?
I think definitely has to do, and it also definitely has to do with just what's available for people in other cities out of Mexico City. I mean, just think about it. In Mexico City, you have at least 2 alternative radio stations, one of them very extremely popular, that are playing independent and international alternative music. Whereas in the rest of the country, it's still social media, alternative magazines. They are starting, but it's not as developed as a city of 30 million people.
What's going on over there? When you book a band, what's the process? What do you do as promoters? What activities you have done or you do normally to have big audience and to promote the band, not only for the show, like for their career, to develop their career?
You need to have. We have a network of blogs that we normally work with, and we use their sites and Twitters and blah blah to give tickets away. You can do a showcase on the radio, like the college radio will say like, hey, bring this band, and we do an acoustic version, and we will give you a promotion. I think it depends on what artist you're doing the promotion.
Can we say we got like traditional promotion as media, as TV, radio, news, advertisement, and also we got like all these activities around the artists, no, like a goodwill with all these media, no, like that brings up content.
Yeah,
no,
I think
to the programs or to the magazines.
I think it depends on how the artist is open to do stuff and how creative the promoter is to promote the show. I mean, we have done, like when we did Panda Bear, we had an online contest that you have to put your avatar had to be a panda bear that you designed, and it was like super big, like everyone did, and all the Facebook in this community was filled with panda bears, so for a month. So I think it depends on how creative if you're a band, how creative you are to make something that nobody has done it. If you're a promoter, how to not like give the tickets away like everyone does on the radio, maybe.
As you know, this panel also wanted to include the things that are going right now down in Mexico, and well, the biggest thing is the war against the drugs, you know? And this has a consequence, and it's violence, it's kidnappings, and it's guns all over, and lots of problems in some of the northern cities, mostly. And how this whole thing is affecting all the international bands coming to Mexico. How is this like media and news all over? Because we know that the news wants the uncommon thing, because that's the only way to attract people's attention. But what is real and what is not real?
I think that it's like some years ago I was with one friend of Israel, and I asked him, is everything in Israel like you see in the news? And he told me no, it's only the yellow notes that reach the news, and that's what you see in the international news. But that Israel, you can go and have the blast of your life. And I think something like that is happening right now in Mexico, around the world. I mean, the problem with the narcotics is a big problem, but it's very focalized, it's located. And if you go to the major cities like Mexico, Guadalajara, Monterrey, and if you are an international artist, you won't find any kind of those problems. I mean, in the last 10 years, we have been growing in the scene with a lot of the biggest arts in the world, and they didn't have any problems. In fact, I think one of the greatest public in the world for every artist is the Mexican crowd. So I think it does affect, because some managers or some agencies saw the news or read the newspaper, and they think that stuff is really going on in Mexico. But when they are in Mexico, they realize that it's not that big problem for the international bands. I think for the local bands, it is more a problem, because they do have tourists all Mexico's major cities, and they have to go to some of the cities that did have or still have a major problem with the war in the drugs. If you are in the States or any other part of the country or in the world, you don't have to see Mexico through the eyes of the traditional media. You have to see it like for yourself, because you can hear a lot of things and a lot of stuff going down there, but Mexico is a great country, and every major artist or little artist or wherever has to go there and see it for themselves, for their own eyes, so they can have these experiences. And also, you don't have to see Mexico through the eyes of other guys, like the biggest promoter company, or only one media, or only one guy. You have to see it for yourself. That's the kind of thing that I want to say it. So hope to see you soon down there.